The Xperia XZ1 was one of the last compact branded phones from Sony and was released back in October of 2017. How has it held up almost 4 years later? Let's talk about it. How's it, Grant here? Welcome back to the channel, and this is my almost 4-year follow-up on the Xperia XZ1 Compact. Earlier this year, there were rumors that Sony would actually bring back the compact flagship, but it seems like it just might be a mid-range phone that they only launch in Japan, which is a little bit too bad because I know some say that the Xperia 5 lineup is the new compact, but with a 6-inch display and over an inch taller than this, I would pretty much disagree with that. The XZ1 Compact is pretty much the same size as the new iPhone 12 mini, as you can see right here, which really didn't sell too well, and that's probably most likely due to the relatively high price on this 12 mini. Phones like these compact phones are probably pretty much targeted to people who want more of a companion mobile device, meaning they want something to just handle occasional phone calls, text messaging, periodically checking their social media, all while being easily really pocketable. Not something that they depend on for everything from work to entertainment and a do-it-all device. So those who really want compact phones like this probably use a laptop or computer most of the day and probably don't want to spend a lot of money on a companion phone. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the phone itself. As you can see here, it's very compact, very comfortable to hold, that classic Sony design from back in the day, maybe just a little bit too sharp on the edges, but it does have a headphone jack, and Sony's always had some pretty good audio, USB-C, so it still was using USB-C back then, microphone on the bottom as well as on the top there. It's got a dedicated camera shutter button, which Sony's been known for, which is really nice. You've got the power button, which actually doubles as a fingerprint reader, and you've got dual front-firing speakers here, which has pretty much gone away on all phones now. You had really good, or pretty good, dual front-firing speakers on this phone, which is better than the typical setup that we see now with the bottom-firing speaker and the speaker in the earpiece. You've got some pretty evenly sounding speakers facing right at you there. This does not have any kind of wireless charging, but it does have that classic Sony pull-out SIM card and micro SD card tray. The micro SD card couldn't be used for adaptable storage, but you can offload your media onto that. And this is IP68 certified for water and dust resistance. So Sony's been doing that for a very long time, and before a lot of other manufacturers were doing water and dust resistance. So IP68, that's a really high certification, so really good. You can probably get away with dunking this in water if you really needed to. So pretty durable overall phone because it is also made of plastic. You do have NFC, you can see the NFC tag right there, so that's where the contact is. You have a single camera on the back, so this is before we've had all those cameras all over the place. Really nice, clean and looking design. That's a 19 megapixel shooter there, can shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second video. And you have an 8 megapixel front facing camera that can shoot up to 1080p 30 frames per second. So overall, we can check out the phone. The fingerprint scanner, well, it is side mounted. It's not really the most responsive, so you can see there, took a couple tries. And sometimes I just need to wipe off my finger and the fingerprint and it'll work, but it's not the most reliable. And you actually have to press in on the power button to activate it. So not the best, but at least you had one, because remember when Sony had those issues in the US where they couldn't put fingerprint readers, at least this one does have one and it works. It does come with a 4.6-inch IPS LCD display with Sony's Triluminos technology. So a really good looking LCD display, even though it's only 720p on a screen size at 4.6 inches, 720p doesn't look bad at all, at least to my eyes. And again, really good looking LCD displays. Sony's always made really nice LCD displays. It's not the brightest necessarily outdoors, but it's more than bright enough indoors. And you do have some really nice color calibration settings actually. So if we went into display, we can go into advanced, and you've got some display settings here. So you can actually go into change the color mode. So standard mode, super vivid if you really want. I like standard the best. And then you can actually adjust the white balance. So you got some fine grain white balance controls, so you can adjust this to be warmer or cooler depending on how you like to see your display panels. So really nice calibration settings here for the display by Sony there. So we can actually go ahead and try to queue up a video and show you what this display and speakers sound like here. All right, so I've got a video queued up and it is set to 4K 2160p, so at least an upscale to 4K if the video is in 4K on this 720p display to get it as sharp as possible. I'll bump up the volume. Let's go ahead and move it up, and we'll play it so you can check out the display as well as how these front-firing speakers sound. So as you can see, really good looking display, at least indoors. Not sure how well that comes across on camera, and the speakers are really loud. Not sure if the mic really picked that up, but it's nice that they're actually front firing and firing straight at you, especially when you're watching your media. Small display, sure, but I don't think a lot of people looking for compact phones are going to be consuming a ton of media, maybe just the occasional video, and this definitely gets the job done. Now, as far as software, this is running Android 9 Pie with a September 2019 security update. So that's the last update that this phone actually received. You can see the kind of Android Easter egg there. So it is running Android 9 Pie. So not the latest operating system, obviously. Support stopped on the software, but it still functions very nicely. Sony's always optimized their software very well for their phones, and it's pretty much very light. It's built off of stock Android, so it has a very stock Android kind of feel to it. You can see there it even has a Google Discovery feed off to the left. So that's very nice. You can see everything is very light on this phone, so it still functions and performs very well. And so we can go into here. We can go ahead and make sure that we clear everything. And again, because it's only Android 9, there are only software keys. So you can see the software navigation buttons at the bottom, no swipe gesture navigation. So that took a little bit getting used to again, but maybe for those with the buttons, you'll like that more. But we can launch some applications just to give you a feel for the app launch times are. Again, this is running the Snapdragon 835 with 4 gigs of RAM. It does only have 32 gigs of storage, so that's where the micro SD card slot's going to come in handy, offloading some of the media to that. But again, Snapdragon 835, 4 gigs of RAM. You can see how long it took to load up Twitter, not long at all. And you can see the scrolling speeds here. Just everyday usage, I don't think it's going to be bad. Little hiccup here and there, but even modern smartphones today, even flagship ones, can hiccup when loading some media. So I think overall, pretty nice and smooth. We can go ahead and launch something like Instagram. You can see what that looks like here. Loaded very fast, no complaints there. Snapdragon 835, I mean, that's only, what, a couple, 2-3 years old here. So still very much relevant, still performs everyday tasks just fine. I think that's what most people are going to be using this for. Just again, just occasional tasks, mostly phone calls, text messaging, the occasional social media checking. You're not going to be using a phone this small heavily. It's just, again, going to be a nice companion to whatever you're doing, using your laptop mostly probably during the day. We can go ahead and launch the browser here and load up something like GSM Arena. And you can see there everything loads up pretty quickly, especially that I'm on Wi-Fi, but scrolling speeds, again, even in Chrome in the browser, are pretty smooth. And you can see there the leak that we had, that they're going to launch another compact. Again, unfortunately, that's only coming to Japan as a mid-ranger. It would have been really nice if Sony brought back the compact like this in a flagship form, because that's what they were before. They were just smaller versions of their flagship phones, which I think a lot of people would appreciate. And some of the key software settings here. Number one, like I said, Sony audio is pretty good, and they actually have good audio and sound settings here. If we go into sound, audio settings, you can see here they actually support hi-fi audio and clear audio plus, but I like to use the sound effects here and customize my equalizer. So you can actually fine-tune your equalizer settings to how you like to hear your music. It even has clear bass boost here on the bottom, which actually works, gives you a little bit more bass and more depth through the sound. So really good customization and equalizer settings here for your audio for both wired and through your speakers. So you're gonna get good audio here, both plugged in, Bluetooth, and through these front-firing speakers here. Other settings that Sony is known for is its battery saving settings. So if we go here, we can look for battery, and they have their battery care here. So they've always been big on prolonging the health of your battery. So something like this that's almost 4 years old, battery health is still pretty good, although obviously I'm not using it as my primary phone for that long. I'm testing out a bunch of phones, but that's what it's here for. If this is your primary phone and you want to keep it as long as possible, Sony has always had these battery care kind of features where when you're plugging in and charging, if you might be doing that overnight, it'll charge rapidly to about 80-90%, and then it'll taper off so that it won't constantly be charging and wearing on your battery. So health of your battery should last you as long as you want to keep this phone. So Sony's always been known for that, and battery care is also another key software feature here. Some other Sony software outside of its nice light stock Android, they include something like Movie Maker, so that's some custom software that they have. And so if you want to just create some quick clips of your videos or photos and set it to music, you can actually do that relatively quickly with Movie Maker. And I actually think I have some photos or an example here that I created a while ago. So you can post these things to like social media. Now with big movements towards a lot of these short clips type video, and not just Instagram, but TikTok, even YouTube Shorts, I think Movie Maker is pretty cool. It can help you create a quick montage. So that's just a quick sample of something that you can create with Movie Maker really easy, really quick, post to social media platforms where these types of short kind of burst videos are very popular. Again, TikTok, YouTube just implemented shorts. So pretty nice feature on a almost 4-year phone that's relevant still today. Now let's move on and talk about the cameras here. So like I said, you have a single 19 megapixel camera on the rear, which can shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second video. You do have an 8 megapixel camera on the front that can shoot up to 1080p 30 frames per second video. And you can see that fingerprint there, not the best reader, but eventually you'll get in. We can launch the stock camera app. And as you can see, Sony pretty much has not changed its stock camera app over time. Let's go ahead and bring in the Xperia 1 Mark II. You can see how much bigger that is. And again, like I was saying, the Xperia 5 is only a little bit shorter than the Xperia 1. So it's not really a compact phone. You can see the size difference there. But again, let's go ahead and check on the Xperia 1 Mark II, which is Sony's current flagship until the Mark III comes out later this year. You can see there, the camera apps are pretty much looking the same. It hasn't changed very much at all. You can actually slide this way on each to record video, move back to photo. Even the top settings at the top are pretty much the same. And we can go into settings here, and that's where it's a little bit different. You have a dedicated settings menu finally, versus this overlay here. But pretty much everything else still looks very close to the same. And I really wish Sony would invest more time in upgrading their stock camera software. Now, they've done a really good job with their Pro apps on this Xperia 1 Mark II. But again, like you can see, stock app is very much neglected. You can see here the modes, a little bit different, but still some of the same things. You had AR effect here on the XZ1 Compact. That was when Sony was really big on AR. They were actually one of the first to market with AR and kind of just gave up on that. That's when your portrait mode, this bokeh mode right here, was a separate app. You actually had to go to this Play Store, download the Sony bokeh app, and looks like it's integrated, but it actually launches a separate app. So if you go into that, you'll see here it's pretty much looks like it's part of the camera app, but it's not, and it doesn't work very well at all on this. So portrait mode and bokeh type pictures through this mode doesn't work very well at all. At least they've integrated that into the camera app on the 1 Mark II. You can see some of the other modes like manual mode, which is nice. So you can actually do a manual mode for your photos there. And you also have things like creative effects, panorama, and slow motion. So some basic other camera type settings. So a very basic camera, but it still produces some decent photos, and it is more than passable. I think people with phones like this aren't looking for the best in imaging. You're not going to be trying to print really large canvas type photos and to hang on your wall. You're just trying to take them for quick photos during the day, quick video clips that you want to maybe share on social media, share to other family members, and really not maybe long-term type photos you want to keep, and that's going to get the job done. So I'm going to show you a bunch of photos here now so you can kind of see what they look like, and I think it's still very much more than passable here. All right, let's talk about battery now. So being a small compact phone, this only has a 2700 milliamp hour battery, which is a big departure. Nowadays, you're seeing phones with at least 4000, 5000 milliamp hour capacity batteries. So 2700 is very small, but the way Sony optimizes their software so well to work with that battery in the hardware, you actually get some pretty decent battery life. So I am getting still about 5.5 hours of screen on time, maxed out at about 7 hours. So it just depends on what you're doing, and it definitely can get me through a whole day still. So that comes into the battery health aspect of it and how well Sony optimizes that small battery capacity for its phone. So you're still going to get a full day of use and some pretty decent usage out of the phone. And like I said before, I don't think people are always on their phones like compact phones like this. They're just checking it periodically through the day. And that's primarily how you're using this phone. It'll easily get you through that day. If you're constantly on the phone, you're depending on it for everything, you're probably not going to want a compact phone like this. And so as far as charging times, it's not the fastest, but it does support, I believe, quick charge. And so charging took almost 2 hours to get to full 100%, but it charges up to 80% pretty quickly, or in normal time, it took about 30 minutes to get to 50%. It took an hour, just over an hour to get to 80%. And then because it does that slow charging after that, it took another hour to get to a full 100%. So charging isn't the fastest, but if you turn off that battery saver, you'll probably get typical normal charging speeds with quick charge speeds. So things, I would say like probably an hour 15, no more than an hour and a half to fully charge the battery. So again, not the fastest, but it does preserve your battery health over time by not really supercharging and that battery extremely fast. Hey everyone, so I just want to wrap up this video with some footage from the front-facing cameras on the XZ1 Compact. And what's really cool about these front-facing cameras is that you can shoot in this wide-angle mode here. So the normal mode is much more cropped in, and you can actually switch over to this wide-angle mode so you can fit a lot more in the view. So that's a really nice feature of this front-facing camera. But anyway, what did you think about the XZ1 Compact and how it's held up over the last 4 years? I still think it's a great phone and can still really make a nice companion device if you just want something that's going to be good for periodically checking your social media and occasional usage throughout the day. You just want something that's really compact and easily fit in your pocket or whatever you're carrying your phone in. This is still a pretty good option. Even though the software updates have stopped, it still performs great. So let me know if you still have your Xperia XZ1 Compact and you're still using it today, or maybe you have one of the other compact phones from Sony. Let me know if you're still using it. I'm interested to hear how it's held up for you over time. Any other questions or comments, drop them down below. And as always, thanks for watching.